I'm here to tell you that anybody can meditate. Everybody can and essentially should meditate for their own benefit. Now, I'm here today at Satya Sai Prasanti Nilayam Ashram. That's a mouthful that I'm still trying to master saying. And what what I actually wanted to do when I sat down to do this recording is to film a meditation for you guys. And as you might hear in the background, there is a lot that is going on. Currently, half the ashram at the moment is a building site as they're developing and expanding. And then you can hear in the background that beautiful chanting as well that's going on. So as I sat here on one of the more quieter spots that I found in the ashram, I thought, I can't do a meditation. I can't create a meditation unless the point of focus was going to be on sound. Then I can't do a meditation that will bring you that benefit for you guys. So I thought, well, this is the perfect opportunity to explain how everybody can meditate. Now, for the most part, when people say, oh, I've tried meditation and it just doesn't work for me, I can't meditate. Now, what I will say is quite often those people will have meditated for the first time and they will have perhaps not even lasted for that long. And what they will have come up against in that meditation, and for those of you that perhaps are new to meditation, have just found this video and are looking to try, the reason that people find it so hard is because they are coming up against their own mind. They're coming up against their own ego. They're coming up against their own unprocessed traumas and experiences that need to be digested, witnessed, and released. And it's so important to realize that even if you struggle, even if you have attention deficit disorder or ADHD or any other neurodivergent prognosis, let me say, you are still more than capable of meditating. And in fact, meditation will help you in so many different ways. It will transform your relationship with this life. It will transform your relationship with yourself and all of what you understand to be. Now, if the biggest hurdle for you is in meditation is your mind, then we have to look at how you can meditate and face the mind. So there are different types of meditations out there. One of those types of meditations would be called a point of focus meditation. Now, a point of focus meditation essentially utilizes one aspect of your experience. Now, your experience is what you perceive through your senses, okay? Now, the mind is what takes that perception through the senses and translates it into the form that you perceive all around you. Now, if we were to utilize a point of focus being the breath, which is one of the most common points of focus, and the reason that it is also not just a common point of focus but a fantastic point of focus is because the breath is the connection between the spiritual and the physical, the energetic and the material. And it is that bridge that is not only helping us to circulate the energies in our body, but is also connecting us with our spirit and connecting the realms of the physical and the spiritual. The breath is also how a lot of our tension and past traumas get stored in our body. Because if you take, for example, a past experience that you've had, a negative past experience, and perhaps one of the most common things that we could think of in this circumstance would be a shocking experience. And what happens when you have a shock to the system is, more often than not, you're going to take a deep, not even necessarily a deep breath in, but a sudden intake of breath. But that intake will be linked to the emotional imprint of the experience, and then that will then impress upon the thoughts that will connect to those experiences. Now, that breath can come across in many different ways. It can be short and sharp. It could be a very staggered breath. It might even be you not breathing at all through that sudden shocking experience. And it doesn't have to be a shocking experience, but that is one of the ways in which the breath is suddenly not just affected, but is affected because of the way it's storing those imprinted experiences. And when we start to reconnect with the breath during meditation, different things are happening. We can utilize the breath not only as that point of focus to detract from the thoughts and the chaos of the untamed mind that is playing out before you by focusing on one point of the breath, but you are also focusing on the development of the breath. And it's not always the case, but to me, if you're going to do a meditation that's focused on the breath, you might as well use it and use it whilst developing the breath. And what do I mean by developing the breath? Well, for most of us, we are quite out of sync with what our natural and holistic breathing pattern should be, through no fault of our own, just through the experience of life. And what I'm talking about is, again, just like how those experiences, past experiences, have in the moment created certain effects on the breath. Like I said, no breathing, change in the breath. We can carry that forward into the way that we breathe in our life, as we breathe moment to moment, and for a couple of different reasons. One of them being is because we're carrying that imprint forwards from those past experiences. Another being that if we have to allow ourselves to breathe this way, because if we don't breathe in the untamed, unhealed way, then that means that we automatically have to start processing the emotions, experiences of the past. I know, shocker, right? So when we can allow ourselves to consciously practice breathing in the full and healthy way, as well as using it as a point of focus in the meditation, that's when we can start to do the real work on different levels, which is not just allowing ourselves to take back control from the unconscious ego, the false self, the untamed mind, but also allowing ourselves to come back into rhythm with ourselves and to do the work to release those unprocessed emotions and experiences. So that's an example which is just a point of focus. Another, you can use this in many different ways. Another point of focus you could do is very much a conscious meditation, and you could have your eyes open and you could focus your attention, perhaps to take an obvious example, would be on something like a candle, and using your point of focus as a visualization exercise on the candle. Now, ultimately, you're going to be regulating your breath throughout that process, a lot the same with other point of focus meditations. And you can see that you can use different point of focus across each of the senses, and you can play with the different types of meditation and the intention that you put behind them. So you could do it with sound, and you could sit, close your eyes, and just settle into the space, and then you can start to notice each of the sounds as they are playing out. And so you might notice the chanting, you might notice the building work that's going on, you might notice the birds in the trees, you might notice the leaves slowly rustling, you might, and as you go down this exercise further, you'll notice more and more sounds. And then what you can do is start to break those sounds down from the mind individually identifying it and creating the form through sound, and just going with the chanting, sound, changing the form to just unidentified sound. And then the building works, sound. The birds, sound. And then you're breaking it all down to your disidentifying with all the sounds. So you're essentially disconnecting with that element of the mind and coming back into your state of awareness. So that is the point of focus meditations. Now you can do a lot of other meditations. You can do walking meditations. You can do, I'm trying to think of other examples of meditations here. But each of these meditations have their own way in which they are negotiating the connection between the mind, the body, and the spirit and the soul. And that's how we start to break down that connection of the untamed mind. So what I would suggest for you is, if you are struggling for the first time, or perhaps you are new to meditation. If you are new to meditation, or you've tried it a couple of times, once or twice, and it has been a struggle, then what I would suggest is starting slow. Starting with a 10-minute meditative practice once a day. And a couple of things that I would add to this is, I would want you to find somewhere comfortable, somewhere that you're not going to be disturbed, somewhere in which you feel safe. Okay, because setting is important for a meditation, especially if you're a beginner. There's nothing more distracting than the thought of someone coming in at any moment, or to think that, am I actually in a safe place, where a physically safe place, but also a mentally safe place as well. So your setting is important for the meditation. And then I would suggest breathing as a point of focus meditation to start with. And to make it even easier, if you do struggle with breathing as the point of focus, and I'll do a simple breathing exercise in the next video, but if you do struggle with breathing as a point of focus, then we'll add a simple visualization to the breathing. And this can be great with connecting you with your heart space, and also allowing you to start to open up your heart. And all I want to do, without me covering the mic, is I want you to place your hand on your heart. So it's a little bit too high because the mic's in the way. Just imagine it's in there. And place your hand on your heart. And then as we utilize the breathing, your point of focus is going to be on visualizing the breath going in to your heart space on the in-breath, and then expanding out all around you on the out-breath. And you can imagine the breath coming in through the front In through the sides, in through the back and the front, however you want to do it. And then on the out breath, just imagining it expanding out all around you. Breathing in and breathing out. And this helps, especially if you are a visual learner, if you find yourself visualizing a lot. It's good, it's nice, it's easy, and it's also a healing exercise as far as I'm concerned. All meditation is a healing exercise, but because you are essentially utilizing the heart, then it's just allowing you to work with what is coming up. And this can also be it can bring up a lot of different things, especially if you're not used to opening up your heart space. But you will find yourself coming into that much connection with your heart and with your true self, walking ever forwards towards your true self. And I think that is where I will leave it. If you find yourself getting distracted by your thoughts, then all you have to remember is that when you become conscious of the fact that you've been distracted by a thought, then come back to your center. Come back to the breath. It doesn't matter if you get distracted by a thought 100 times, 200 times, 300 times in the first 10 minutes. In the second 10 minutes on the next day, on the third 10 minutes on the third day. The fact is that you are actually stepping forwards to do the work. And you will find that you will quickly start to create tiny little spaces, tiny little breaks between your thoughts, and just allowing that space to occur. And you may even have thoughts around the fact of, I've just had a space, there's something that's just opened up. And don't celebrate it until after the meditation. Become the conscious witness of your experience. And this is why it's important to recognize that your thoughts are not your own. And if you want to explore more of this, I've done a couple of videos in the past exploring that and helping to point you towards your true self. And this will just help you to start to make a break away from the idea of who you were into who you are. And ultimately, we have to ask this question, because what is the point of us doing meditation in the first place? Obviously, if you're here, then there's a part of you that wants to explore it, or has been exploring it for however long. And in my own experience, I've had to journey into the understanding and to cultivate a level of knowledge that has allowed me to see why I am meditating. And ultimately, I'm only going to understand the true why through the act of meditation. But certain concepts have allowed me to create the understanding of the separation between the mind and the true self, the ego, the false self, and the true self. And I will finish now, but it's important to have those ideas, or it has been for me at least, because without it, I haven't had the boundaries or the pointers, the way showers towards what I am hoping to achieve. And therefore, I haven't been able to create the right framework for me during a meditative practice. I will get better at saying that word one day. So I hope this helped in some way. Please let me know if you want me to expand on any points. I will make a video of a simple point of focus meditation through the breath that you can utilize, a 10-minute meditation that you can go through and return to, as well as perhaps a couple of other videos to follow up on from this video. Have a beautiful, blessed day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Much love.